every moment of our lives, and that is the power of hope. The belief that something better is always possible if you're willing to work for it and fight for it. It is our fundamental belief in the power of hope that has allowed us to rise above the voices of doubt and division, of anger and fear that we have faced in our own lives and in the life of this country. Our hope that if we work hard enough and believe in ourselves, then we can be whatever we dream, regardless of the limitations that others may place on us. The hope that when people see us for who we truly are, maybe, just maybe, they too will be inspired to rise to their best possible selves. Shoot, it's the hope of my folks like my dad. He got up every day, do his job at the city water plant. The hope that one day his kids would go to college and have opportunities he never dreamed of. That's the kind of hope that every single one of us, politicians, parents, preachers, all of us, need to be providing for our young people. Because that is what moves this country forward every single day.
Every day during training, you were challenged with multiple physical events: long runs, long swims, obstacle courses, hours of calisthenics, something designed to test your mettle. Every event had standards, times you had to meet. If you failed to meet those times, those standards, your name was posted on a list. And at the end of the day, those on the list were invited to a circus. A circus was 2 hours of additional calisthenics designed to wear you down, to break your spirit, to force you to quit. No one wanted a circus. A circus meant that for that day, you didn't measure up. A circus meant more fatigue, and more fatigue meant that the following day would be more difficult and more circuses were likely. But at some time during SEAL training, everyone made the circus list. But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength and physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times, it will test you to your very core. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circuses. SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.
Dream big, work hard was my motto. Because I truly believe that you should have as big of dreams as you want in this world. Never let anybody tell you you can't accomplish those dreams. I once had a teacher who told me that my dream of one day playing in the NFL was unrealistic. I also had people who believed in me, and those people helped me get to where I was. You should have as big of dreams as you want to have. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. But to accomplish those dreams, you must be willing to put in the work. You must be willing to put in the time, the effort, the energy, the sacrifices that it takes to make those big dreams come true. It will be difficult. It will not look the way you want it to look. But in the end, if you stay focused, if you stay true, if you have the passion for your dream, you'll get there, no matter how difficult that path may be.
I think you have to work hard in whatever you're doing. If you're looking for the shortcut, the trick, the easy way, you can get by perhaps for a while, but you won't be strengthening the talents that lie within you. I often use verse forms to make a point, and Grandma Rice wrote a poem called How to Be a Champion. In part, he said, you wonder how they do it. You look to see the knack. You watch the foot in action, or the shoulder, or the back. But when you spot the answer where the higher glamours lurk, you find it moving higher up the laurel-covered spire, that the most of it is practice and the rest of it is work. And there's another verse or two that say essentially the same thing, and there's a lot of truth in that. And the other, enthusiasm. If you don't like what you're doing, how in the world can you do the best of which you're capable? You can't reach your own particular level of competency unless you enjoy it, unless you're enthusiastic about it. You may be talented, and you may be better than somebody else, but if it's not near your own particular level of competency, you're not really succeeding.
You must know who you are. No, I'm not talking about your name or your occupation. I'm not talking about what people say about you on Facebook. I'm not talking about your PIN number. I'm talking about who you are at the core and the essence and the root of your being. Spiritual code of conduct says you have to know who you are, and that your behavior cannot make testimony about you that is not the truth of who you are. You know who you are from the inside to the outside. And your behavior is a demonstration of what you believe to be true about you. Spiritual code of conduct says know who you are when somebody calls you out your name in your face.
You must have, as a basic principle, the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. You're going to be deciding as the days and the years unfold what you will do in life, what your life's work will be. And once you discover what it will be, set out to do it, and to do it well. If it falls your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Leontine Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. If you can't be a pine on the top of the hill, be a scrub in the valley. But be the best little scrub on the side of the rill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. For it isn't by size that you win or you fail. Be the best of whatever you are.
When coaches are complaining about pressure, I don't buy that at all. Do you think a salesman doesn't have pressure? You think a barber doesn't have pressure? He doesn't cut all the hair in town. The butcher doesn't sell all the meat in town. A salesman, if you don't do a good job, there was somebody else in your spot. So how about a surgeon performing delicate surgery? Oh my goodness, there's far more pressure than a coach is going to have on. And the only pressure that amounts to a hill of beans is the pressure one puts on oneself. And you better put pressure on yourself. If you're not putting pressure on yourself, you're cheating yourself, you're cheating those under whose supervision you are, you're cheating others. But if you are affected by outside pressures, that's a weakness. If you let the media affect you, if you let the alumni affect you, if you let the parents affect you, keep you from doing what you think is proper and right and correct, you should know better than they. This is your profession. You're working at it every day. You see these players every day. You see them together. You should know more about it. And if you let the fact that others bother you, you can't go and cut meat like the butcher can. You can't cut hair like the barber can, and so on down the line. So don't worry what others think about it. And I think that somehow I was brought up to not let those things bother me. I never worried about a job. I think I can get a job. Maybe I can get the job I want. But I'll get a job. I'm not saying you don't feel them. You don't like to be criticized. No one likes to be criticized. And I do like to be criticized. But at the same time, you got to accept it. Do what you think is right and not let outside criticism sway you. But at the same time, don't be stubborn. You can be wrong, you know. We're all imperfect.
You don't have to be broke. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to be sad and sorry. You don't have to take care of everybody just because you've always done it. Be willing to do a new thing in a new way. And sometimes you're going to have to piss people off in the process. Sometimes. Because people will hold you to your limitations. They will hold you to what they believe to be true about you. Spiritual code of conduct says, do not believe that because it hasn't happened, it won't happen. Renew, recharge your vision. And do not be tricked into thinking that because it's always happened, it has to continue to happen. Spiritual code of conduct says, do not accept the unacceptable. Do not accommodate and tolerate what doesn't honor you.
Seek the greater truth. Anything that anyone has ever done that has required more caused that individual to confront themselves. They confronted their fears. They confronted other people. They confronted culture and had to make a decision that, you know what, you said I can't. The system says I can't. But something inside me says what? I can. And when you seek the greater truth, you get into direct alignment for that very moment, that very reason, that purpose that causes your emotional intelligence and the laws of attraction to become one. As they become one, you will find this sense of passion resonating, causing and stirring up something inside of you. As that passion is stirred up, your purpose just comes forth. You know, there's this thing, if you ever watch a football game, you don't see the guy sit there and wait on the ball to come, and you don't see the quarterback throw it after the guy is downfield. Right when he snaps the ball and that receiver takes off, that ball is in the air. Sometimes you have to run on faith. You have to run not seeing the outcome, but just knowing that there will be the result that you desire. And as you feel, as you believe, you will receive. Because after all, that which you seek, ladies and gentlemen, that which you desire, that which you long for, is equally seeking you.
At least twice a week, the trainees were required to run the obstacle course. The obstacle course contained 25 obstacles, including a 10-foot wall, a 30-foot cargo net, a barbed wire crawl, to name a few. But the most challenging obstacle was the slide for life. It had a 3-level, 30-foot tower at one end and a 1-level tower at the other. In between was a 200-foot-long rope. You had to climb the 3-tiered tower, and once at the top, you grabbed the rope, swung underneath the rope, and pulled yourself hand over hand until you got to the other end. The record for the obstacle course had stood for years when my class began in 1977. The record seemed unbeatable until one day a student decided to go down the slide for life head first. Instead of swinging his body underneath the rope and inching his way down, he bravely mounted the top of the rope and thrust himself forward. It was a dangerous move, seemingly foolish and fraught with risk. Failure could mean injury and being dropped from the course. Without hesitation, the student slid down the rope perilously fast. Instead of several minutes, it only took him half that time. And by the end of the course, he had broken the record. If you want to change the world, sometimes you have to slide down the obstacles head first.
We fail often, fail forward. You know, it's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. You know, when you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure, because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure and they use that energy and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're going to fail. That's the reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit, getting to your limit, getting to your limit. You can't lift that. You can't do that until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward.
Create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life, because you become what you believe. When I was a little girl, growing up on the farm, watching my grandmother boil clothes in a big iron pot through the screen door because we didn't have a washing machine and made everything we had, I watched her and realized somehow inside myself and the spirit of myself that although this was segregated Mississippi and I was colored and female, that my life could be bigger, greater than what I saw. I remember being 4 or 5 years old. I certainly couldn't articulate it, but it was a feeling, and a feeling that I allowed myself to follow. I allowed myself to follow because if you were to ask me what is the secret to my success, it is because I understand that there is a power greater than myself that rules my life. In life, if you can be still long enough in all of your endeavors, the good times, the hard times, to connect yourself to the source. I call it God. You can call it whatever you want, to the force, nature, Allah, the power. If you can connect yourself to the source and allow the energy that is your personality, your life force, to be connected to the greater force, anything is possible for you. I am proof of that. I think that my life, the fact that I was born where I was born, and the time that I was, and have been able to do what I've done, speaks to the possibility, not that I am special, but that it could be done.
Isn't used merely because we take it for granted. It can do any kind of a job we assign to it, but generally speaking, we use it for little jobs instead of big, important ones. Universities tell us that most of us are operating on about 10% of our abilities. Decide now. What is it you want? Plant your goal in your mind. Give yourself direction and a destination. It's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life. You see, the very law that gives us success is a two-edged sword. We must control our thinking. The same rule that can lead a man to a life of success, wealth, happiness, and all the things he's dreamed of for himself and his family, that very same law can lead him into the gutter. It's all in how he uses it, for good or bad. This is the strangest secret in the world. Remember these words from the Sermon on the Mount, and remember them well. Keep them constantly before you. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. It's as marvelous and as simple as that.